Welcome back to the St. Joseph County, Michigan Court of Judge Jeffrey Middleton. Today we have a concerning case about a concerning tenant who is experiencing concerning health issues. The judge and the lawyers find it concerning he didn't show up. Roll footage, LawNerds.
We are going to go on the record. Everyone have a seat. You'll be more comfortable there. This is entitled TJ Pine Valley Place versus Kevin Stroop. We've had a number of hearings in this case. I have 6 pages of notes. It started as a termination of tenancy case and continued as such, having to do with violations of the lease allegedly by Mr. Stroop involving sanitation of his apartment unit, particularly bed bugs, and the cooperation and the eradication of the bed bugs. Mr. Stroop has a guardian. He has a pivotal caseworker. And he's struggling to make his way in the world. Attorney Pamela Amato has been here from the beginning on behalf of Pine Valley Place, which I appreciate. Sometimes the counsel will change in midstream. Meg Bauer is here on behalf of the defendant. I know for a fact the parties have spent a lot of time discussing this case. They were put in a breakout room on November 25th. They were put in a breakout room on December 2nd. They spent an additional amount of time, I think, on December 16th, and the matter was not resolved, so I set it for trial today and Friday. I blocked out 8 hours for this case. Ms. Amato told me before you got here, Meg, that you guys had been working on it also the last few days. She also advised she thought a resolution had been reached, and then you informed that your client is not here, which certainly doesn't help. So, Ms. Amato, I'll defer to you first, then we'll hear from Ms. Bauer on what our status is.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Ms. Bauer and I have gone back and forth on some positions, hoping to reach a consent order for conditional dismissal, excuse me. Unfortunately, Mr. Stroop is not here today. We are going to ask the court for an additional 2 weeks. If we can have an adjournment, that would give us an opportunity to hopefully come to terms. I don't think we're too far apart. There's some questions that Ms. Bauer has and some answers that hopefully we can provide so that we can come to a resolution that will hopefully keep Mr. Stroop in his unit so that we don't have to proceed to a potential eviction. So what I would ask the court today is to give us a 2-week adjournment so that we can continue negotiating back and forth and get some of those answers for Ms. Bauer and maybe some from our side as well. And I'm sorry, Your Honor, I have the property manager, Shannon Caffey, here with me today.
She's been here at each hearing. I appreciate that also. And I think the goal was to try to get the situation cleaned up, not necessarily remove Mr. Stroop. Ms. Bauer, what's your position?
Thank you, Your Honor. I was in communication with Mr. Stroop last night. I'm just putting this forward so it's on the record. I was in communication with Mr. Stroop last night when the phone call dropped. I subsequently was unable to reach him and through this morning or this afternoon even. At the time of our conversation, he was intending to appear. He had coordinated a ride and is obviously not here. In the interim period of time, I have communicated with Pivotal. They are actually sending someone to the house or to the apartment to verify whether he is okay, because they had worked on coordinating the bus passes and or bus rides with him and were under the impression that he was prepared to come. The defense is and has been prepared to proceed to trial today. In fact, the defense is ready, willing, and able to proceed to trial without the defendant present, because his presence is unnecessary for us to succeed in the case. However, as Your Honor indicated, the goal here has been to reach an amicable resolution that gets the bed bug issue resolved, that works in the favor of the plaintiff, that works in favor of the defendant. And if we prevail in this hearing on this case today, that doesn't fix that problem. It just starts the whole thing over again. We have gotten finally close to the point of agreement. I do not, however, have authority to enter into an agreement based on where we're at and my last conversation with Mr. Stroop. So I cannot ethically put anything on the record at this time. There are a couple of outstanding issues related to other tack-ons that the plaintiff wants to get into this conditional dismissal, but it's a very serious type of arrangement where the defendant would be waiving his rights to substantive protections for material noncompliance and just cause obligations on the plaintiff. And he'd also be waiving some pretty serious due process rights by entering such an agreement. And so I do believe that in conversation, Mr. Stroop and I can get on, that I can get Mr. Stroop to agree to the arrangement that actually it's an offer that we originally put out there, was rejected, and is now back on the table with some tweaks. So I think we're finally getting some stuff to shake loose here, but we can't proceed at this time. And I did tell Ms. Amato that I was prepared and willing to proceed today, or we could wait and see if Jocelyn Evans was going to his unit, is on her way right now. We could wait for him, or proceed without him, wait for him, or seek another time. She did not want to wait and wants to seek another time.
Well, I'm disappointed that he's not here, but as we said, I think before we turn the record back on, he's been here every time. And we've been here 3 times, the 25th, the 2nd, and the 16th. And he's usually in the conference room. Has there been any more bed bug remediation since the 16th of December?
Yes. Then January 7th, January 21st.
Did you hear Miss,
No, I
Oh,
couldn't.
sorry,
January 7th and January 27th,
21st.
sorry, 21st.
And he cooperated in those efforts?
Yeah, he let pest control in.
All right.
Your Honor, and just so it's on the record, normally when a defendant doesn't show for 50 minutes, we ask for a default judgment.
Yes.
And I didn't put that on the record.
Well, I discussed that. He isn't here, but his attorney is here. And so I don't believe he's subject to default. I certainly don't want to cut off my nose to spite my face because Ms. Bauer doesn't have the authority to settle. We have to have an 8-hour trial. That's why I'm not very happy that he's not here. But I thought the same thing, but I don't believe he is subject to default. He's represented by counsel. And in a civil matter, he doesn't have a subpoena. He's not been court ordered to appear. So you can appear by counsel in a civil matter. So he isn't subject to default. He's subject to my irritation because he isn't here, but that doesn't amount to much. I do appreciate the hard work you guys have been doing. Management, legal counsel, his lawyer. He's very limited. He's got significant ADA defenses, perhaps. Understanding the real goal is to just get this thing cleaned up. According to him, he was down to a wooden chair, 1 blanket, and 1 pillow. I'm not sure what the status of his unit is like now. And he certainly wants to stay there. If we have a trial and the plaintiff prevails, he's going to have to go. And he's probably not going to be eligible for other placement. So it's certainly in his interest to try to resolve this. All right, what's your thought regarding the 2-week adjournment?
That's agreeable for the defense.
Let's look. Today is the 2 weeks from today, I will be in a place called Corozal. That's not gonna work. So let's look at either Monday, the 17th. No, I won't be there then either. That takes us to Friday, the 21st. Certainly ought to be enough time. One concern is we're still in January's rental period. And I think the landlord is holding January's rent. We're gonna get into February, and I don't want him to get behind in his rent. But we gotta do what we gotta do. He's not behind now. I think the landlord, as you know, on a termination of tenancy, they can't accept payment. So they're holding it. But he's got it. Well, Ms. Bauer, I believe you're already here that day for a trial on the matter of Clifton Harder. Let me look at that. No, that's 2 lawyers. That's Howard Bush and Victor Bland. As I mentioned to Meg, it's a case where it was important that defendant had competent counsel. How about Friday, February 21st at 1:15?
The defense is available.
Are you available? Yep, they're just, Your Honor, can I step up for just a second? to make
Yes.
sure?
And let me say this, if we're gonna have a trial, it needs to be live. If we're gonna put a settlement on the record, we can do it by Zoom. I'm not gonna make you both drive down here for that. But February 21st at 1:15.
Even though you said we could have a seat, we actually stipulated to standing. We looked at each other.
Yeah.
Usually
Okay,
we're just standing.
fine with me.
Me too.
It's okay.
The older I get, the more I find myself wanting to sit down.
The longer I spend standing at my desk, the more I find myself wanting to sit.
A lot of our staff has stand-up desks. And almost everybody has one, and they often stand. I don't know if anybody's invented it. They don't have a lay-down desk.
You're onto something.
There's some really nice chairs though. those are good like that.
Don Roberts does have a couch in his office.
Oh,
Attorney.
will that work for you?
Yes, Your Honor, that
All
works.
right. Again, if settlement, we can do by Zoom. I hope he's okay. As I said, he's been here at every hearing.
Ms. Benson called me while we were on the record, actually. I don't know what she said yet.
Oh, why don't you go ahead and check? Ms. Evans?
Yeah, Jocelyn Benson is our Secretary of State, isn't she?
Yes, she's running for governor. She called too.
I can't talk about that on company, TV, Your Honor.
She was
Wanted to
the
support.
president of Wayne State University Law School at one time. I think it's Jocelyn versus Jocelyn, but close enough.
I think you're right.
I can hear the jurors back there. They must have started their deliberation. So obviously this also frees up our Friday time slot. We blocked out 4 additional hours on January 31st on Friday afternoon, so you can clear your calendars for that.
I don't have an explanation, but he's alive. He called me from,
All right, well, it's not something horrible then. So we'll adjourn this to Friday, February 21st at 1:15. My hope is it will be a Zoom hearing and we'll put a settlement on the record and bring closure to this. If not, we'll do what we need to do to inch closer to the finish line.
on behalf of the defendant, we appreciate the court's understanding.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And I'd offer to take you out for a drink, should you have to make the drive, but I guess you got some other hearings to do. So.
Besides that, there is nowhere in Centerville to have a drink.
That is true. At a local foundry.
No, it's been closed for some
What if
time.
somebody taught it?
No, they never really,
Never
so there is nowhere in
No.
greater
You have to go to
metropolitan
Three Rivers,
Centerville
so-
to have a.
You go to Vicksburg, there's no-
When's the next close? When's the next closest town?
All right, I'm gonna close the live feed. I'm sorry we didn't get as far as we needed to, but
Thank you.
thank you all.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoy watching this content, please like and subscribe. It helps new channels like this one gain exposure. There is a lot more good court to come, so if you like what you saw, tell your friends. If you didn't, tell me and let me know what you'd like to see and how I can improve. Thanks.